Hey everyone, thanks for being here. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if you enjoy this one and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what are you doing right now? Alright, let's get into it. They say demonologists don't believe in coincidences, that every possession, every haunting, every shadow that moves wrong, it all connects to something bigger. I used to think that was dramatic nonsense, the kind of thing old priests tell themselves to feel important. Then, I performed an exorcism in Nevada that knew my real name, the name I'd never heard before, the name that would lead me beneath the desert, into a city that shouldn't exist, holding an artifact that could end the world or save it. This is what happened when I discovered I wasn't entirely human. The Hernandez house in Henderson smelled like copper and rotting flowers. I'd been doing this work for 6 years. Freelance demonologist contracted by the church when local priests hit walls they couldn't break through. Most cases were mental illness, trauma responses, sleep paralysis given religious dressing. Maybe 1 in 20 was actually something else. This was something else. The daughter, Victoria, sat strapped to a kitchen chair with blessed rope. 17 years old. Eyes rolled back so far I could only see white. Her parents stood in the hallway clutching rosaries, whispering prayers that did nothing. "Victoria," I said, keeping my voice level. "I'm going to help you." Her head snapped toward me with a crack that made her mother gasp. When she spoke, the voice wasn't hers. Too deep, layered like gravel scraping over glass. "You're lying, Gabriel Thorne." I froze. I'd introduced myself as Daniel Gray, the name I'd used since the orphanage in Massachusetts took me in as an infant. Gabriel Thorne wasn't on any document, any record. I'd never heard it before. "Who told you that name?" I stepped closer, pulling the silver cross from my neck. The thing wearing Victoria's face smiled. "Your father. He screams it across the veil every night, begging you to wake up." Her spine arched impossibly backward. "The son of light crawling in dirt, playing human. Atlantis calls you home, bastard angel." My hand shook. "You're bluffing." 41 degrees north, 25 degrees east. The voice shifted, became almost gentle. "Siwa, the forgotten temple. The door your blood opens. Tick-tock, Gabriel. The eclipse is coming, and you're still pretending to be mortal." Victoria's body went limp. When her eyes opened again, they were her own. Confused, terrified, with no memory of what she'd said. I finished the exorcism on autopilot, blessed the house, told the parents she'd be fine, collected my fee and walked to my truck with my pulse hammering in my ears. 41 north, 25 east, Siwa Oasis, Egypt. I didn't sleep that night, sat in a motel room outside Henderson with my laptop open, searching for answers I couldn't articulate. Every search led nowhere. Gabriel Thorne returned nothing. Atlantis gave me myths and conspiracy theories. Siwa Oasis showed tourist sites and Alexander the Great's lost tomb. But the coordinates burned behind my eyes. At 3 a.m. I heard him for the first time. Not a voice. More like a frequency, a vibration that started in my chest and spread through my bones. No words, just certainty, direction, the way migrating birds know which way is south. Come home. I bought a plane ticket to Cairo before sunrise. The flight gave me 16 hours to unravel. I'd been raised by Father Michael at St. Augustine's in Boston, a quiet, bookish priest who taught me Latin and demonology but never mentioned my parents. He died when I was 19, left me a box of exorcism tools and a note that said, "You were found on the church steps. You were meant for this work." I'd accepted that, built a life around it, stayed unattached, traveled light, learned to identify genuine possession from psychosis. I was good at my job because I didn't get emotional, didn't overthink. I saw patterns, followed evidence. This wasn't evidence. This was insanity. But my hands, when I looked at them under the airplane's reading light, I could swear I saw something moving beneath the skin. Not veins, light. Gold light, faint as a candle through frosted glass. I ordered whiskey and didn't drink it, just held the cold glass and watched my hands until we landed. Cairo overwhelmed my senses. Dust and diesel fumes, vendors shouting, the call to prayer echoing from a dozen mosques. I hired a driver without haggling, showed him the coordinates on my phone. He frowned. Siwa? That is very far. Why you go there? Nothing for tourists. Research, I lied. He quoted a price that was probably triple the normal rate. I paid it. The drive took 9 hours through desert that stretched endlessly under a sky so blue it hurt. My driver Ahmed tried making conversation for the first hour, then gave up when I kept staring at my hands. The gold light was stronger now, definite, pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat. We reached Siwa as the sun began setting, a scatter of mud brick buildings around natural springs, palm groves dark against orange sky. Ahmed stopped at a hotel. I wait here, he said. You do research, come back before dark. I didn't argue, grabbed my backpack and followed the pull in my chest toward the edge of town, where ruins rose from the sand like broken teeth. The temple of Amun, ancient, crumbling, ignored. A few scattered tourists took photos near the entrance, but they didn't venture deep. I walked past them, past warning signs in Arabic and English, into the shadowed interior where limestone columns held up nothing but sky. The pull got stronger, turned from suggestion to command. I found stairs leading down, not marked, not roped off, just open and descending into darkness. The tourists hadn't noticed them, or couldn't see them at all. My phone's flashlight cut through the black. The stairs went down, down, cut into bedrock, walls closing in until my shoulders nearly brushed stone on both sides. The air changed, cooler, drier, tasting of salt and electricity. At the bottom, a chamber. Small, empty except for the far wall. Except it wasn't a wall. I approached slowly, my flashlight shaking. The surface looked like limestone, rough and ancient. But when I reached out, when my fingertips made contact, my entire body ignited. Not pain. Not exactly. Every vein, every capillary lit up gold, bright enough to see through my skin. The light traced paths across my arms, my chest, up my neck. I gasped and jerked back, but the glow didn't fade. The wall rippled. I'm not being poetic. The stone surface moved like water disturbed by wind, circles expanding from where I'd touched. And through it, behind it, I saw light. Different light. Blue-white and pure, like staring into a star. The frequency in my chest became a voice. Step through. My rational mind screamed at me to run. Get back to Ahmed. Fly home. Forget this. But my body moved forward. My hand extended. I pressed my palm flat against the rippling stone and pushed through. It felt like drowning. Pressure crushed me from all sides, filling my mouth, my lungs. I couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. My vision went dark, then bright, then fractured into colors that didn't have names. When I could see again, I wasn't in the chamber. I was falling, no, descending. In a shaft that went straight down, walls carved with symbols that glowed the same gold as my veins. Wind rushed past me, but I wasn't in free fall. Something controlled my descent, slowed it, like invisible hands guiding me down through miles of earth. The walls changed from stone to crystal. The symbols became more complex, shifting languages, hieroglyphics to cuneiform to alphabets I'd never seen. Temperature dropped. My breath came out in clouds. I tried to count seconds, estimate depth. Gave up after 5 minutes of continuous descent. This was impossible. I should have hit the water table, magma, the core of the planet. Instead, I hit a platform. My knees buckled on impact, hands slapping against floor that felt like glass but didn't break. I gasped, sucking in air that tasted wrong. Too clean, too perfect, like breathing pure oxygen. When I looked up, I forgot how to breathe at all. I was in a cavern, massive, the size of a cathedral, walls of crystal that pulsed with internal light. Water surrounded the platform, still clear as air, stretching in all directions. And through that water I saw the city. Towers. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Rising from the depths in impossible geometries. Not ruins. Active. Lit from within. glowing with that same blue-white radiance. Architecture that made my eyes hurt trying to follow the angles. Buildings that spiraled upward in defiance of physics, connected by bridges that looked like frozen lightning. The water wasn't the Mediterranean, wasn't any ocean. This was somewhere else, somewhere below, somewhere folded away from the world. Atlantis. The word appeared in my mind fully formed, certain as my own name. The real one, Gabriel Thorne, son of light, descendant of the first city. My legs gave out. I sat hard on the glass platform, staring through the water at the city that shouldn't exist, and laughed until I couldn't breathe. Laughed until tears ran down my face and the gold light in my veins pulsed brighter, responding to the city like recognizing like. From somewhere in the depths I heard it clearly this time. Not a frequency, not a feeling, but words. Welcome home, my son. Now swim. The water began to rise. The water didn't climb gradually. It surged upward like a living thing, swallowing the platform in seconds. I had time to suck in one breath before it closed over my head. Cold. Searingly cold. My muscles locked, lungs burning immediately. I thrashed, trying to swim up, but there was no up, just crystal walls glowing in every direction and the city below, impossibly far. Then the water yanked me down. Not a current. Intention. The water itself grabbed me, pulled me toward the towers with force that would have shattered bones if it had been physical. But it wasn't physical. It was something else. Something that passed through my clothes, my skin, rearranging molecules as I went. My vision blurred. Pressure built in my skull. I was going to die here, drown before ever reaching. My lungs seized. Involuntarily, I gasped. Water rushed in. I waited for the choking, the panic, the end. Instead, I could breathe. The water filled my lungs like air. Cold air, thin and sharp, but breathable. My body understood before my mind did, stopped fighting. Let the water in, let it out. Rhythm. Like I'd been doing this my entire life. The descent slowed. I hung suspended in the crystalline depths, breathing liquid, watching the city grow closer with each heartbeat. Details emerged. The towers weren't built from stone or metal. They were grown organic somehow. Surfaces covered in patterns that moved when I looked directly at them. Windows glowed from within, but I saw no movement, no people. The bridges connecting everything pulsed with light that traveled along their length like blood through veins. At the city's edge, an archway. Massive, carved from single piece of material that shifted colors. Gold to silver to something beyond either. Symbols covered every surface, and as I approached, they rearranged themselves into words I could read. The preserved, the pure, the price of perfection. The water deposited me at the arch's threshold and released me. I hung there, weightless, lungs full of liquid that shouldn't sustain life but did. Beyond the arch, streets. Empty streets paved with something that looked like mother of pearl, iridescent and smooth. Buildings rose on either side, their walls transparent enough to see the rooms inside, furnished, decorated, waiting. As if the inhabitants had just stepped out and would return any moment. I pushed through the archway. The moment I crossed the threshold, gravity reasserted itself. I dropped 3 feet and hit the street hard, water exploding from my lungs in a violent cough that left me gasping real air. My clothes were dry, completely dry, like the water had never touched them. The air here tasted electric, ozone and honey. Temperature was perfect, not warm, not cool, just exactly right. And quiet. So quiet I could hear my pulse in my ears. I stood slowly, every muscle trembling. The street stretched ahead, buildings on either side reaching toward a sky that wasn't sky. A dome of energy swirling with colors that had no names. No sun, but light came from everywhere and nowhere. Hello? My voice echoed wrong, came back distorted. Is anyone here? Silence. Then, a sound. Crystalline. Like wind chimes made of glass, but deeper, resonant, coming from my left. I turned. One of the buildings had a door standing open, an invitation, or a trap. I walked toward it because there was nowhere else to go. Inside, the building's geometry made no sense. Rooms connected at angles that shouldn't exist. Stairs led up and down simultaneously. Walls were transparent from one side, opaque from the other. I passed through a kitchen where food sat on plates, perfectly preserved but thousands of years old. A library where books hung in the air, their pages turning by themselves. The chiming sound led me deeper, up a spiral staircase that seemed to rotate as I climbed. At the top, a single room. Empty, except for a figure made of light. Not a person. Not exactly. A form humanoid but constantly shifting, edges blurring, features rearranging. It stood in the center of the room, and when I entered it turned toward me. No eyes, no mouth, but I felt it looking at me, into me. The chiming resolved into words that appeared directly in my mind. Show me what you carry. I don't... I started. Your grief, your doubt, your fear. Show me the weight you bear, descendant. Before I could respond, the room disappeared. I was 12 again, standing in Father Michael's office. He sat behind his desk, face gray, hands shaking. Gabriel, he said quietly, I need to tell you something about your parents. But I knew this memory. Knew what came next. He told me they were dead, unknown, that I should focus on my calling. Except this time he kept talking. Your mother was human, a woman I knew briefly before I took my vows. She died giving birth to you. His eyes met mine, filled with shame. Your father? I don't know what he was, but when she died there was light, gold light that filled the delivery room, and when it faded you were alone. No body, just you, glowing. I tried to speak. Couldn't. This wasn't my memory, this was something the Guardian was showing me. Truth extracted from the spaces between what I remembered. I should have told you, Father Michael whispered, but I was afraid of what you might become. The memory shattered, reformed. I was 19, standing over his grave. But now I could see what I'd missed, the way my shadow fell wrong, stretching toward the sunset instead of away from it. The way other mourners unconsciously kept their distance, uncomfortable without knowing why. Another shift. Nevada, Victoria's possessed body. But this time I could see the demon's true form, a writhing mass of shadows with too many limbs crouched behind her chair. And I could see what it saw when it looked at me, a beacon, bright enough to burn. You have never been human, the Guardian's voice echoed. You have pretended, hidden, diminished yourself to fit among them. Why? The memories released me. I collapsed in the empty room, the light being standing patient and immovable. Because, I gasped, I didn't know what else to be. The Guardian flickered. For a moment I thought I saw a face, angular, neither male nor female, ancient and sad. Truth, painful truth. You may proceed. The room dissolved. I stood on the street again, but now I could see the city differently. See the patterns in the architecture, the mathematical precision of every angle. This wasn't random. This was designed with purpose that went beyond human understanding. Atlantis hadn't been destroyed for hubris. It had been preserved because it achieved something humanity wasn't ready to witness. Perfection. The chiming came again, from deeper in the city, leading me forward. I walked for what felt like hours through empty districts, past a garden where plants grew in spirals, their leaves humming with contained energy. A fountain that flowed upward instead of down, water climbing into the air and dissipating into mist that smelled like rain before a storm. In a plaza, I found the second Guardian. This one was different. Solid. Metal and flesh fused together, joints visible but seamless. 7 feet tall with 6 arms and a head that rotated completely around to fix me with eyes that glowed red. It didn't speak, didn't ask questions. It attacked. The first strike came so fast I barely dodged, a fist that cratered the street where I'd been standing. I rolled, came up running, but it was faster. A second arm caught me across the ribs, lifted me, threw me 20 feet into a building's wall. Impact drove the air from my lungs. I slid down, tasted blood, tried to stand. The guardian advanced with mechanical precision. Wait, I raised my hands. It didn't wait. Grabbed me by the throat, lifted me off the ground, its grip tightened, cutting off blood to my brain. Black spots bloomed in my vision. This was the test. Not words. Action. I stopped fighting, let my arms fall, met the guardian's red eyes and thought, I submit. I'm here to learn, not conquer. The pressure on my throat eased. The guardian tilted its head, examining me like I was a puzzle with missing pieces. Then it set me down gently and stepped back. Humility, a new voice said, deeper than the first, mechanical and grinding. Rare in those who carry power. You may proceed. It turned and walked away, joints clicking rhythmically, disappearing between buildings. I sat on the ground, gasping, ribs screaming. My throat would bruise purple. But I was alive. 2 tests passed. How many more? The third guardian found me near what I thought was the city's center. A massive structure rose here, pyramid-shaped but inverted, point buried in the ground, base spreading toward the energy dome above. It pulsed with light so bright I had to squint. The guardian here was different again, human-sized, wrapped in robes that seemed woven from starlight. When it moved, after-images trailed behind, like it existed in multiple moments simultaneously. You seek the sanctum, it said without preamble. Its voice was my voice, my father's voice, every voice I'd ever heard layered together. Yes. Why? Because I was called. Because something is coming. Because I don't know what else to do. Honest, but incomplete. The guardian circled me, after images creating a ring of possible positions. You seek power. All who come here do. The power to reshape reality, to command angels, to rival God for one perfect hour. No, do not lie, especially to yourself. It stopped in front of me, and for the first time, I saw its face beneath the hood. My face. Older, harder, eyes cold as winter. This is what you could become, what you fear becoming, a wielder of absolutes, comfortable with terrible choices. I stared at myself, at the version of Gabriel Thorne who'd embraced power without hesitation. I don't want that, I said. But you would use it, not a question, a statement, if the need was great enough. If lives hung in the balance, you would take the tablet and become a god for 1 hour, knowing the cost. What cost? The guardian smiled with my face. Every use of absolute power requires absolute sacrifice. What you gain, someone loses. What you save, someone pays for. The tablet does not create, it redistributes, saves the many by condemning the few. My stomach dropped. Who pays? That is never revealed until the hour ends. Perhaps no one you know. Perhaps everyone you love. It stepped aside, revealing a doorway in the inverted pyramid's base. This is your final test. Enter knowing this truth, or leave now, and forget you ever came. I looked at the doorway, looked at my older, colder self. How do you know all this? I asked. The guardian's smile faded. Because I am what waits at the end of your road, Gabriel. The choice you will make 30 years from now, when you return here with blood on your hands and desperation in your heart. I am your future, warning your present. The words hit like physical blows. I come back? Everyone who finds Atlantis returns. The first time for destiny, the second time for desperation. It gestured to the door. Choose. I thought about Victoria, about the coordinates the demon gave me, about the eclipse I'd seen in fragmented dreams since arriving, about a woman I hadn't met yet, surrounded by angels I couldn't reach. I walked through the doorway. Inside the inverted pyramid, time stopped meaning anything. I climbed stairs that led down, walked through corridors that looped back on themselves, passed through rooms filled with light, then darkness, then colors that made my eyes water. And then I was there, The sanctum. A sphere of empty space at the pyramid's buried point. No floor, no ceiling, just void. And floating in the center, the Tablet of Enoch. Not stone, not metal. Condensed light, shaped into rectangular form, covered in script that moved and breathed. Letters that rearranged themselves as I watched, forming words in languages I'd never learned but somehow understood. It sang. A frequency so pure it hurt, resonating in my bones, my teeth, my soul. I reached for it, and heard him. My father. Not a voice. Presence. Standing behind me, though, when I turned, nothing was there. Gabriel. Warmth. Pride. Sorrow. You found your way home. Who are you? I whispered. Raphael, healer, guardian, father of the last bridge between worlds. A pause. I cannot stay. I am bound here, part of the city's defense, but I can give you this moment. Why didn't you come for me? Why leave me with humans? Because you needed to be one of them before you could save them. His presence moved closer, comforting and vast. The tablet shows you the eclipse. December 28th. You see the woman? Images flooded my mind. Rome. A narrow alley near Vatican walls. A woman with dark hair and eyes that glowed gold when shadows closed in. 3 angels surrounding her in protective formation, destroying anyone who approached. Loneliness radiating from her like heat. She is your twin in purpose. Born the same night. Ocean apart. Only she can read the tablet without losing her mind. Only you can reach her past the angels. His voice grew fainter. Take it. Guard it. Find her. And Gabriel, whatever the cost demands at the end, pay it without hesitation. Some prices are worth paying. Wait. I spun, but the presence was gone. I was alone with the tablet. I grabbed it with both hands. The moment my skin touched its surface, the universe exploded. Visions. Thousands of them. Futures, pasts, possibilities. I saw the eclipse, saw shadow creatures with red eyes pouring through a tear in reality above Vatican City, saw them killing, consuming, spreading, saw the woman standing alone as the 3 angels fell one by one, overwhelmed. Saw myself arriving too late, holding the tablet uselessly as the world burned. Then another vision. Earlier, me finding her, her taking the tablet, reading the words, her body igniting with power that made the sun dim by comparison. 1 hour of absolute dominion. The shadows destroyed, the tear sealed, the world saved. And at the end, someone's face, blurred, unrecognizable. But I felt the loss like a knife between ribs. This is the price, a voice whispered. Someone you love will burn so the world can live. The visions ended. I stood in the sanctum, holding the tablet, its light searing into my palms, leaving marks that would never fade. Behind me, the pyramid began to shake. I ran. The city was collapsing. Not physically, conceptually. The buildings flickered between solid and translucent. Streets rearranged themselves as I sprinted. The removal of the tablet had destabilized something fundamental. I reached the archway as sections of the dome above began cracking, energy spilling through like water from a broken dam. The guardian of light stood there, my older self, watching calmly. Run faster, it said. And remember, you chose this. I dove through the arch as the city folded in on itself behind me. The water caught me, pulled me up violently through the crystal shaft. I held the tablet against my chest, felt it burning through my shirt, branding my skin. The ascent took seconds. I exploded from the temple floor in Siwa, gasping, soaked despite the tablet's heat. The stairs behind me crumbled, the passage sealing itself with grinding finality. I collapsed on sun-baked limestone, shaking, the tablet pulsing against my ribs. Ahmed found me there an hour later, unconscious, hands scarred gold, clutching something he couldn't quite see but knew better than to touch. He drove me back to Cairo without asking questions. I had 6 days to reach Rome, to find a woman I'd never met, to save the world or watch it end. The choice, apparently, had already been made. The flight from Cairo to Rome gave me time to fall apart quietly. I sat in the back row, tablet wrapped in my jacket on my lap. To anyone else, it looked like bundled fabric. To me, it hummed constantly, a vibration that traveled up my arms and settled behind my sternum. The golden scars on my palms throbbed in rhythm with my pulse. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her. The woman from the visions. Dark hair falling past her shoulders, paint-stained fingers, eyes that glowed like mine when the light hit them right. Standing in a narrow Roman alley, 3 massive presences circling her like planets around a sun, alone in a crowd, invisible by design. I didn't know her name. Didn't know if she'd even believe me when I found her. Didn't know whose face would blur into focus when the price came due. The plane touched down at Fiumicino on December 22nd. 4 days until the world ended or didn't. Rome hit me like a wall of noise and history. Tourists everywhere despite the winter chill, speaking a dozen languages, taking photos of ruins they didn't understand. I kept my head down, the tablet pressed against my ribs beneath my coat, and caught a taxi to Vatican City. The Swiss guard at the entrance looked at my passport, my haggard face, the way I held my side like I was wounded. "Purpose of visit?" he asked in accented English. "I need to speak with the oracle." His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. He made a phone call, spoke rapid Italian, then gestured me through without another word. They knew I was coming. Somehow they knew. The oracle lived in a building most tourists never saw, tucked behind the apostolic palace, unmarked and unadorned. A young priest met me at the door, introduced himself as Father Domenico, and led me through corridors lined with frescoes so old they were fading into the plaster. We descended stairs. Down into the Vatican's hidden levels where the air smelled like old books and candle wax. At the bottom, a simple wooden door. Father Domenico knocked twice and left without looking at me. I pushed the door open. The room beyond was small, lit by dozens of candles. An old woman sat in a chair by the far wall, her face a map of wrinkles, eyes closed. She'd been blind for decades, I'd heard. Some said since birth. Others said she'd seen something that took her sight as payment. "Gabriel Thorne," she said before I could speak. Her voice was surprisingly strong. "Son of Raphael, bearer of the tablet. You're earlier than I expected. You knew I'd come? I've known since the day you were born." She gestured to a chair across from her. "Sit. You have questions. Ask quickly. We don't have much time." I sat, still clutching the tablet. "The eclipse, the woman, the angels. Tell me you know how to stop this." The oracle smiled faintly. "I know how. Whether you'll accept the method is another matter." She leaned forward, sightless eyes somehow fixing on mine. "The woman's name is Elena Russo, born November 7th, 1991, in a hospice 2 blocks from here. Her mother died in childbirth. Her father, also an angel, also bound to eternal service, never claimed her. She's like me. She is your mirror. Where you were raised to fight darkness, she was raised invisible to it. The 3 angels protecting her are not guards, they are prison wardens. She cannot live a normal life, cannot love, cannot be touched, cannot even be seen clearly by most humans. The angels make sure of it." I thought of the visions, her loneliness radiating like heat. Why? Because she is the only living human who can read the Enochian script without her mind shattering. The angels keep her pure, isolated, ready for the moment she's needed. They've been waiting 33 years for December 28th. How do I get past them? The oracle's smile faded. "You can't. No human can. No demon either." She paused. "But the tablet can. It resonates with her bloodline. If you get close enough, it will pull her to you. The angels cannot stop what's already written in the fabric of reality." "Where is she?" "Santa Maria in Trastevere. She restores the old frescoes there. Works alone, after hours." The oracle stood slowly, joints creaking. "Gabriel, when the hour of power ends, Someone will pay the price. The tablet will choose based on who loves her most in that moment. Be very careful what attachments you form in the next 4 days. My blood went cold. It chooses based on love? Always. God's power requires sacrifice, and sacrifice without love is meaningless. She moved toward the door, then stopped. One more thing. The angels protecting her will know you the moment you approach. They will try to kill you. The only reason they'll hesitate is because you carry the tablet. Use that hesitation wisely. She left me alone in the candle-lit room, holding an artifact of impossible power, with 4 days to find a woman I couldn't touch and convince her to save a world that had made her invisible. I found Santa Maria in Trastevere on December 23rd, a basilica from the 12th century, golden mosaics covering the apse, tourists shuffling through in respectful silence. I waited until closing, watched the crowds thin, the priests lock the main doors, then I went around back. The restoration entrance was unmarked, a simple wooden door in an alley that smelled like garbage and rain. Locked, but I'd brought tools. The tumblers clicked, and I slipped inside. The back passages of the basilica were a different world. Scaffolding, drop cloths, the chemical smell of paint thinner and plaster, work lights strung along the walls casting harsh shadows. And there, on a platform 20 feet up, working on a fresco of the Virgin Mary, Elena. She wore paint-splattered jeans and a black sweater, hair tied back, completely focused on the delicate work of filling in cracks with gold leaf. Even from here, even in the artificial light, I could see it, the faint glow around her edges, like she was slightly out of phase with reality. I took one step forward. The temperature dropped 30 degrees in an instant. 3 presences materialized between me and the scaffolding. Not visible, not exactly. More like absences shaped like beings, spaces where reality bent away, refusing to show what stood there. But I felt them. Massive, ancient, utterly without mercy. The tablet burned against my ribs. One of the presences moved. The air beside my head exploded, brick dust and plaster raining down from where the wall had been punched through by invisible force. Wait! I raised my hands, showing the tablet. I'm here because she needs this. Because the world needs her. Another strike. This one caught my shoulder, spun me around, sent me crashing into scaffolding. Metal shrieked. Pain bloomed hot and immediate. Above, Elena stopped working. Looked down. Our eyes met. Gold recognized gold. Her face went pale. Who are you? Gabriel Thorne. I need to talk to you. The third presence hit me like a freight train. I flew backward, slammed into the wall hard enough to crack ribs. The tablet tumbled from my grip, clattered across the floor, and started glowing. Bright. Brighter. The script on its surface ignited, letters lifting off and floating in the air, rearranging themselves into a pattern I couldn't read but felt in my bones. The 3 presences froze. Elena climbed down from the scaffolding slowly, eyes locked on the tablet. She walked through the presences like they weren't there, and they parted for her, let her pass. Watched, but didn't interfere. She knelt beside the tablet, reached out, stopped just before touching it. What is this? She whispered. The Tablet of Enoch, and you're the only person alive who can read it. She looked at me then, really looked. Saw the scars on my hands, the way I held my ribs, the desperation in my eyes. You're like me, she said. I can feel it, the light inside. My father's an angel. Yours too, I'm guessing. She laughed, sharp, bitter. I've never met my father, never met anyone who could see me clearly. She glanced at the presences surrounding us. They make sure of that. I can see you. I know. Something in her voice. Longing, maybe. Or fear. Why are you here, Gabriel Thorne? Because in 5 days, something terrible is going to happen. A tear in reality above the Vatican. Creatures from the other side, trying to break through. And the only thing that can stop it is you, using this tablet for 1 hour of absolute power. She stared at me. You're insane. I wish I was. I stood carefully, every movement agony. I've been to Atlantis, Elena. I've walked streets that don't exist, talked to guardians made of light, heard my father's voice for the first time in my life. And all of it, every impossible thing, led me to you. Why me? Because you're the bridge. Human enough to care about saving the world. Angelic enough to wield the power needed to do it. I took a step closer. The presences tensed but didn't attack. I know you've been alone your whole life. I know what that feels like. But this is your purpose. Our purpose. Elena looked down at the tablet, reached out slowly. The moment her fingers touched its surface, light exploded through the basilica, gold and white and colors that had no names. The script flowed up her arms like living things, circling her wrists, her shoulders. She gasped, saw what I'd seen, the eclipse, the invasion, the choice, and the blurred face of whoever would pay the price. When the vision ended, she was crying. Someone dies if I do this, she whispered. Yes. You knew that and you still came. Yes. She pulled her hand back. The light faded. The presences moved closer, protective. I need time to think, she said. We have 4 days. Then give me 2. She stood, backed away. Come back on Christmas Day. I'll have an answer. I wanted to argue. Tell her there was no time for thinking, only action. But the look in her eyes stopped me. This wasn't fear. This was someone who'd had every choice taken from her entire life, finally being given one that mattered. Christmas Day, I agreed. Here? She nodded, turned to climb back up to her fresco. I left the tablet on the floor. It would be safe with her, safer than with me. The presences escorted me out, violently. I felt invisible hands shoving me through the door, into the alley, and when I tried to go back, the door had sealed itself. No handle, no lock. Just solid wood. I spent Christmas Eve in a hostel near Termini Station, ribs wrapped, shoulder immobilized, rereading everything I could find about Enochian magic and angelic hierarchies. None of it helped. None of it explained how to convince someone to accept a destiny that required sacrificing a loved one. At midnight I heard sirens, went to the window and saw the sky above Vatican City flickering. Just for a moment. Like reality was testing its seams. The eclipse was in 3 days. Christmas Day, I returned to Santa Maria in Trastevere. The basilica was packed with families, children, tourists seeking meaning in ancient mosaics. I waited until evening mass ended until the crowds thinned. Found Elena in the same alley waiting. She looked different, stronger, decided. I'll do it, she said before I could speak. I'll read the tablet. I'll use the power. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. But I have conditions. She stepped closer. The presences appeared around her, wary. I want you to stay with me. The next 3 days I don't want to be alone. I've been alone my entire life, and if I'm going to save the world and lose someone I love, I want to know what it feels like first. To love someone? To be seen by someone? Her gold eyes locked on mine. The angels can't stop you from being near me. The tablet proved that. So stay. Talk to me. Let me know you. Because when the hour ends and the price is chosen, I need to know it meant something. I should have said no, should have kept distance, stayed professional. The oracle's warning echoed in my mind. Be careful what attachments you form. But I looked at Elena, truly looked at her and saw myself. Isolated, powerful, terrified of mattering to anyone because everyone eventually left. Okay, I said. I'll stay. The next 3 days were the strangest of my life. We talked, constantly. Elena showed me her restoration work, explained the history of each fresco, the techniques she used to bring faded paint back to life. I told her about exorcisms, about the moment I realized most possessions were just broken people looking for explanations, about Father Michael and the box of tools and the complete absence of answers about where I came from. We ate together, cheap pasta from a place near her apartment, wine that was probably terrible but tasted perfect. The presences followed us everywhere, invisible barriers that kept strangers at a distance but couldn't keep us apart. On December 26th, I showed her the scars from the Guardians in Atlantis. She traced the golden lines on my palms with her paint-stained fingers, and when she touched them, both our hands glowed. "We're connected," she said quietly. "I can feel it, like we're two halves of something that was split a long time ago." "Twin purposes," I said, remembering my father's words. "Do you think we were meant to find each other? Even without the eclipse, without the tablet?" I didn't know, but I wanted to believe it. On December 27th, the sky started cracking. Small fissures, almost invisible unless you knew to look. But they were spreading. By evening, the entire dome of sky above Vatican City looked like shattered glass held together by stubbornness and prayer. Elena and I stood on her apartment roof watching the cracks widen. "Tomorrow," she said. "The eclipse starts at 7:47 p.m. We should be at the Vatican by sunset. The oracle said the tear will open directly above St. Peter's Basilica." She nodded, still staring up. "Gabriel, when the hour ends, when someone has to pay, promise me something. Anything. Promise you won't try to stop it. Won't try to be noble and sacrifice yourself. Let the tablet choose. Let it be whoever it needs to be." I wanted to promise. Couldn't. She looked at me, read the answer in my silence, smiled sadly. I thought so. We spent that night on the roof, not talking, just existing together under a sky that was coming apart. Her hand found mine. Our scars aligned, gold light pulsing between us. I was in love with her. Had been since the moment our eyes met in the basilica. And I knew, with absolute certainty, what that meant when the hour ended. December 28th, 7 p.m. We stood in St. Peter's Square as the sun set. Tourists had been evacuated hours ago. Only clergy remained, gathered in prayer circles, sensing something wrong but not understanding what. The three presences materialized fully for the first time. Not invisible anymore, visible to everyone. Angels. True angels. 9 feet tall, 6 wings each, faces that shifted between male and female and something beyond either. They surrounded Elena in perfect triangle formation, weapons drawn, swords made of condensed starlight. The oracle approached slowly, leaning on Father Domenico's arm. "It's time," she said simply. Elena held out her hand. I gave her the tablet. The moment her fingers closed around it, the sky shattered. Not metaphorically. The cracks exploded outward, and through the gaps poured darkness. Living darkness. Creatures made of shadow and hunger and red eyes, hundreds of them, thousands, screaming as they descended. Elena's voice cut through the chaos, not shouting, not straining, just speaking. Reading the script on the tablet in a language that predated language, words that bent reality around their syllables. Light erupted from her body. Gold and white and colors that made the shadow creatures recoil, shrieking. Her feet left the ground. The tablet dissolved into pure energy, wrapping around her like armor. For 1 hour, Elena Russo became God. I watched her move through the swarm, each gesture unmaking creatures that had clawed their way from the other side. Watched her speak and the tear in reality began sealing, edges knitting together like skin over a wound. Watched the 3 angels join her, amplifying her power, their bodies glowing brighter and brighter until they were almost transparent. The battle lasted 30 minutes. When the last shadow creature dissolved, when the tear finally sealed completely, Elena hung in the air, breathing hard, the light around her flickering. 29 minutes of power remaining. She descended, stood before me. The light made her beautiful and terrible, and heartbreaking. "I can feel it starting," she whispered. "The price. It's choosing." "Don't." "Shh." She pressed her glowing hand to my chest. "I can see who it is now. The blur is clearing." I grabbed her wrist, felt energy crackling between us. "Tell me. It's not you, Gabriel, and it's not me." Tears ran down her face, evaporating before they reached her chin. It's them. She looked up. At the three angels. They stood motionless, understanding dawning on their inhuman faces. They loved me most, Elena said. Protected me for 33 years. Never asked for anything in return. Never complained. Just loved purely, without expectation. Her voice broke. The tablet is calling them. They have to burn so the power can be complete. The angels didn't fight, didn't argue, they simply knelt. The first angel spoke in a voice like rolling thunder. It has been our honor. The second, we go gladly. The third, you were worth guarding. Then they ignited. Not metaphorically. Their bodies became light, pure light, and that light flowed into Elena, completing the hour, sealing the spell, paying the price. When the light faded, the angels were gone. Completely. Not dead, erased, removed from existence as if they'd never been. Elena collapsed. I caught her, held her as she sobbed, the tablet reforming in her hands, inert now, just condensed light again. Above us the sky was whole, unmarred, perfect. The world was saved. And three beings who'd loved her had ceased to exist. 1 month later, Elena and I sat in the ruins of the Siwa temple, the tablet wrapped in silk between us. We'd decided together it needed to be hidden where only those with angelic blood could find it, back where it started. How do you feel? I asked. She considered. Empty, grateful, terrified. She looked at me. What if it happens again? What if in another 30 years, another eclipse comes? Then someone else will carry this burden. Someone with our blood. I took her hand. The oracle told me something before we left Rome. She said we're not the first, there have been others. Throughout history, descendants of Atlantis called to use the tablet when the world needs saving. And they all paid the price. Yes. She nodded slowly. We should document this. Write it down, so whoever comes next has some idea what they're facing. Agreed. We buried the tablet in the chamber beneath the temple, sealed the passage with words in Enochian that only our bloodline could read, placed warnings, instructions, apologies to whoever would have to make this choice in the future. When we emerged into the Egyptian sunset, Ahmed was waiting with his taxi, asking no questions. Elena leaned against me in the back seat. What do we do now? We live. We remember. We make sure their sacrifice meant something. The angels. Yes. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, I see them sometimes, in dreams. They don't speak, just watch, like they're making sure I'm okay. I didn't tell her I saw them too. Didn't tell her that sometimes. Late at night, I heard my father's voice whispering the same thing the guardian had said. You chose this. And I had. We both had. Chosen duty over safety. Chosen the world over ourselves. Chosen to carry weight that would never fully lift. But we carried it together. And somehow that made it bearable. The taxi drove us back toward Cairo, toward whatever life waited beyond this moment. Behind us, the desert swallowed the temple again, hiding the passage, hiding the tablet, hiding the truth that some prices are worth paying, even when they break you. Especially then,